Hi Marina, this is Ellen. I want to tell you how happy I am to see you on the course. I'm really glad to see that you're writing essays as part of your IELTS preparation. Let's take a look and see what you've written in this first set of essays. This one is about schools and if they should be entertaining, so let's see what you wrote. Schools are considered to purpose exclusively for teaching by some people, whereas others believe that classrooms could be placed for more enjoyable activities. I suggest that the main goal of teachers should stay educating, while it's worth to include some entertaining elements to improve effectiveness. Okay, so what I really like about this introduction is that you've covered all the points that you're supposed to, you've rephrased the topic, and then you've given us your opinion, which is really important because you have to include your position in the introduction. However, there are some issues with the grammar that I want to look at, so let's do that now. I'm going to make some changes to this so you can have a record of it as well. This really flow, I'm going to make some changes here. So, schools are considered by some people as having, and then the exclusive purpose, okay, of teaching, wait, so this should be the purpose of teaching, and then we got rid of by people because it should have been elsewhere. Okay, so that's how it should read. Schools are considered by some people as having the exclusive purpose of teaching, okay? Whereas let me just fix that, there we go. Whereas others believe that classes could be places, okay, because you said classrooms. So it should be the same, plural, plural. For more enjoyable activities, I suggest that the main goal of teachers should remain education, not stay education. It sounds better if you do it like that, remain. Because the main goal should remain education, while it is worth, and then after worth, we use an ing. So it is worth including some entertaining elements to improve effectiveness. Okay, so that's how you make this grammatically accurate, you make the syntax accurate, and it's a strong introduction. All right, let's move on. On the one hand, educators are hired to provide lessons but not amusement. School teachers that try to entertain instead of educating could lose their authority and respect. That is because students feel freedom and behave too relaxed while having fun, and it could lead to anarchy in the class. For example, Israel teachers, this should be Israeli teachers notice that it is very difficult to regain discipline and to continue the lecture after letting pupils play. You let somebody do something, so there's no to here, during the lesson. Therefore, it is clear that, first of all, school is the place for children to learn from professionals. I think you want something else here, is to learn new information, new knowledge. Why don't we put that in there? Okay. Now, I like this paragraph. I thought you did a really good job with it. It's clear. You've supported your points. So I thought you did a nice job. Really, a good job here. You could see that there was really only one or two minor mistakes. Nothing really serious. Just this maybe made things a little confusing. But other than that, I thought you did a good job. Let's take a look at your next paragraph. On the other hand, formal education could be boring, and pupils, especially young ones, find it hard to stay focused. Primary school goers experience difficulties remembering. Okay, so here you need an ing. We can just fix that very easily. Information and often feel demotivated to study. Learning motivation and efficiency can be enhanced through educational games. To illustrate recent here you need an A. Now, a couple of things to keep in mind. Research is uncountable, so it doesn't need an article, and it doesn't take a plural, but study is countable, and it does take a plural. So this needed an A here. So a recent Harvard study has demonstrated that game-based learning significantly increases the ability of children to memorize things and stay, we don't really say stay concentrated, okay? We say stay focused. That would have been a better word here, although it's true you already said stay focused. So you could have said just the ability of children to memorize things and to concentrate. So it's even better that way, if you ask me. You know, I'm a big believer of don't use two words if you can use one. So this is a perfect example of that. So that is why it is possible to make studying more attractive and even more successful by offering fun activities. Okay, good. Here you had a few more grammatical errors, but still I think you did a nice job of supporting your argument. To conclude, I stick to opinion that schools should not become entertainment center because its major goal is to educate young people. In the same time, traditional methods could be combined with game-based learning in order to motivate children and to boost efficiency of studying. Okay, fine. But again, there are a couple of things we have to change in terms of grammar and vocabulary to make this really strong. So, I would prefer not to use this expression, I stick to. It just sounds a little informal. Okay, so there are other ways of saying exactly the same thing. I maintain the opinion, all right, and you didn't need a the here. So I maintain the opinion. The school should not become, careful here, you had the wrong tense, an entertainment center. Again, you need an article here because its major goal is to educate young people at the same time as what is needed here. Oops, you need a capital. There we go. At the same time, traditional methods could be combined with game-based. Okay, you need the D at the end of this adjective in order to motivate children and boost the efficiency of studying. Okay, fine. So, Marina, I thought you did a nice job of this. Yes, I had to correct a handful of things, but there were minor grammatical things, and there are things that I am confident you can, easily improve through practice. Okay, I thought that for a first essay you've done a very good job here. Really, you used the template nicely. Your arguments were appropriate, they were on topic, so it's a good first essay for sure. Let's take a look now at your second one about doing an enjoyable activity and see what you did there. Children gain new skills and learn to be creative not only from books but also through, you're missing an R here, games and other activities. Here you need an IES. Despite the fact that reading always has a positive impact on the mind. Oops, sorry. I totally agree that educating while having fun is more efficient and suitable for kids. Now you wrote kids, but kids is also an informal word. So we really prefer children instead, okay? If you're worried about using children too many times, we'll come up with some alternatives for it. But to be honest with you, there are some words where it's really just best to, stick to that word. I mean, there's some words that there's just no appropriate substitute for, and a lot of times children is one of those words. In any case, let's see. What you could have done here, if you wanted an alternative, is you could have said youngsters. Oops, sorry. What am I doing? So you could have said youngsters, and that would have been okay. All right. So yes. So you're saying that reading, but you think this. Fine. So this, let's see what you wrote. Firstly, children are more likely to acquire new skills by doing what they like rather than, here you need a rather, by restricting themselves to. You restrict somebody to something, okay? So keep that in mind. That is because the most powerful force in development for little ones, I like that. That was good. You see, here you found an alternative for children, and I like it, actually. Is their motivation and natural interest. It is much easier to attract children, here we're going to change it, to play than to study from a book. So a little bit of grammar here. At the same time, not in, All right, this is the second time you've made that mistake, so learn it that it's at the same time. Young people learn a great deal of things while playing. To illustrate, careful here, it's not spelled like this. I think you really are trying to say psychologists, which I know it's tricky, but that's what it is, okay? Psychologists say that free roll game with or without, is that what you mean here? I think so. Toys boosts, let's see. I think you're trying to say something else. Let's do this again. To illustrate, psychologists say that free role play with or without toys boosts children's creativity and physical activity is essential for their intellectual development. Hence, parents should encourage their offspring to study new what? I'm not clear about that. And to use their imagination through enjoyable activities. Let's see. Okay, so first of all, let's do this. Let's make it subjects or fields, maybe. Okay. Okay, and that's fine. I like this paragraph. I thought you've done, again, really well developing it. I think it's very cohesive. I think your central idea is clear. And so I like this. I want to see one thing, the most powerful. Let me take a look at one thing here. So like I said, I like this, but I read it again a second and a third time. You're supposed to be talking here about skills development and more creativity, okay? And you've done that, but what I feel is missing a little bit is what skills are being developed through play. You talked a little bit about creativity. Here, I wasn't really sure what you meant about physical activity. Are you trying to say that this is the fun thing and that it is essential for intellectual development? Okay, you might have gone maybe a little more into detail. So I think it could have been a little more fully developed and a little more with some tangible examples about like an activity, any sort of activity. Like say, for example, you said physical activity. You could talk about, give an example that maybe sports help develop a teamwork mindset or strategy skills, like in terms of strategic skills. And so you could have said things like that, and I think that would have made it a little more tangible, a little more well developed. Other than that, though, I thought it was a nice paragraph. Let's look at the next one. Secondly, there are a lot of skills that, not than, careful, should be mastered in real life and not be read about. A lot of skills that should. Yeah, you don't need the two here. Okay, for instance, it is impossible to learn how to ride a bike by reading. Another example is family camping in the forest that will give a ton of practical knowledge. Careful with that. It's a little informal. All right, you could say many, many other things. So it will give endless practical knowledge. You could say that. That would be nice. Or ample. Also a great word. Ample practical knowledge about how to start a fire, to prepare food, and not to get lost in the woods. Even learning new vocabulary is much faster through context and games than by memorizing it from a, careful, book. Therefore, participating in fun activities helps to gain and develop skills that cannot be learned by reading. Okay. Let's see. Okay, we're going to talk about it in a minute. Let's continue. To conclude, I strongly believe that children can develop greater abilities and become, careful, you did this in the previous essay as well. It's become more creative when they are interested and motivated. Furthermore, various skills demand practice, cannot be studied from a book. Okay, so now I think I see what you were doing in this essay. Okay, so when I was reading through this essay, I expected one thing, and something else kind of occurred. let me tell you what kind of led me to a little confusion. It was your thesis statement here, where you talked about, despite the fact that reading always has a positive impact on the mind, etc., etc. That confused me because when you put it in that way, I was under the impression that you were going to spend an entire paragraph about reading, and then you're going to spend an entire paragraph about how having fun is how kids learn skills and creativity. You ended up not doing it that way. You ended up having a paragraph that talked a little bit about creativity, okay? And then, or just, doing what they like. So this paragraph was about how kids should do what they like and how that's more effective than reading. And then this paragraph was about how just doing things firsthand is more effective than reading. So that's fine, although it wasn't what I expected. Now, why is it important that wasn't what I was expecting? Well, because your thesis statement is essentially, it's like a map. It's like a blueprint for what's going to follow in your essay. So this statement needs to more or less mirror what goes on in the paragraphs that follow. Okay, so and that's going to affect your coherence and cohesion score. I don't think that an examiner would allow it to affect your score a great deal. But, it was just kind of like, okay, where am I going? You see, when an examiner is reading an essay, a really good IELTS essay will read through very easily. Like, it won't have any confusion. It's kind of like I have a map to get to where I need to be, which is the conclusion, and the whole thing is clear. Here, I had a little lack of clarity, a little. Let's see. How could you fix this? Well, one way you could have fixed it was by changing your thesis sentence. And you could change it to really more accurately reflect what your body paragraphs are about. So it could have been something like, let's do it like this. Children gain new skills and learn to be creative, not only from books, but through games and other activities. I totally agree that... let's see. I totally agree that fun activities how about this? I totally agree that fun and experiential activities are more efficient and suitable for children and youngsters than reading is. Okay, so that for me would have been a much clearer sentence. Why don't we do that? Why don't we fix it here, okay? I typed it out. I totally agree that doing fun and experiential activities is more efficient and suitable for children than just reading. And then I think that more accurately reflects what you wrote in these paragraphs, okay? All right, so that brings us to the end of this essay correction. I hope you found it helpful. I hope you've got some information and some tools to help you progress along the course and in the next set of essays. If you have any questions, let me know. Just, send it in your email. So let's talk about next steps. Next steps are to correct this essay based on my suggestions. Send it back to us. Along with the corrected essay, you'll want to send an error correction list where you write down the mistakes and then next to the mistakes, the correct version. And then the third thing you want to send us, send it all together actually, is your next set of essays, of course, okay? So go ahead, get that started, and I'm looking forward to seeing them. Good luck.